Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another premiere draft of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. We're only a few days away from the Wilds of Eldraine streaming event, so we don't have much time left to hop back into this format, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It has grown on me a lot as the format has progressed, so I do want to get a couple final drafts in with the set, so that's what we're working on here today. We're going to be starting off this draft with an Aomer of the Rittermark, one of the great finishers for red decks in the format. A 5/4 haste for 5 is just a beefy body, and constantly going to be spitting out a 1/1 soldier, as it's quite likely to be the creature with the greatest power on the battlefield. So Aomer is a great place to start this draft, but very excited to be hopping back into the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth for a little bit, because again, I think the format's just really cool. There's a lot of fun stuff going on with the Ring Tempts You mechanic, with the Amass mechanic, and the humans aggro decks can do some cool things as well. And when we start with pack 1, pick 1 Aomer, we might move into that archetype with the Theoden King of Rohan. So I'll be taking that here and seeing if we can't hop on the red-white humans train in this draft. For pick 3 now, we see a Reprieve, which is a perfectly solid option. Definitely a lot of cards I'd take in red-white over it, but not a Banish or an Eastmark Cavalier. And Rush Through 'em and Gimli's Fury are incredibly filler combat tricks, so not an incredible pick 3 for us, but certainly a playable card. And here's where things are getting real dry. There aren't even any cards I'd be particularly excited about for any deck, no matter what colors I was in. Envelope's okay since the ring tempts you when you play it, and it could give us some fixing for an off-color bomb that we might splash in. Guess I could take Breaking of the Fellowship for mediocre removal, or Escape from Orthanc for our first combat trick. Certainly nothing super exciting here. I'll go for the Breaking of the Fellowship. Ooh, now we get some exciting stuff. Pick 5, we see an Erkenbrand, Lord of Westfold, which is going to be great for the kind of humans archetype we're trying to push into with Theoden and Aomer. Improvised Club is also solid for this kind of deck, since we can spit out some 1/1 human tokens with some amount of ease, but we'll take the Erkenbrand here. Pick 6 now. This pack is pretty empty from playables for any deck. Treason of Isengard is a borderline playable for blue-red spells decks if you have Gandalf Sanction and stuff to return with it, but generally not something I like to play, and that's about where everything is. Ambush is just the best card as a good combat trick, but I'll just rare draft the rare for some gems. Pick 7 now. Not much left here. I do like Deceive the Messenger and Soothing of Smeagol, but nothing in red or white, nothing in black, nothing in green. I'll just take a Deceive. Okay, now we got a Spearmaster, which is another nice filler human creature for this archetype. Pretty happy to see that. And we're technically only 2 cards deep into white, so it's possible we get pushed towards like blue-red spells or something, although our red cards aren't great for that deck. Seeing a lot of filler stuff throughout pack 1 here. Hopefully the card quality can increase for us a little bit as we move into pack 2. Take the random on-color combat trick. Get another Breaking of the Fellowship, that's nice. Not terrible. Rare draft an uncommon for Vault Progress, because I won't be playing any of those cards. We'll take a few more pieces of filler, and then we'll see what we manage to open up moving into pack 2. Oh, Escape from Orthanc is actually reasonable. I like the 1-mana combat tricks decently. They're all pretty replaceable, but I think they're all better than like the 3-mana second breakfast style tricks. And Escape is better than Rush, so we'll just keep Escape for now. Okay, what do we have this time? I really need some creatures more than anything, especially like 2-drop creatures. So we've got Nazgul as probably the best card, but We did not see a ton of black pack ones, so I don't think we can just pivot onto that. Grishnak, which isn't a human in any way, but it is a powerful aggro card. There's Relentless Rohirrim, which is a great 4-drop creature, but I think I'm just going to go with the rare here. I don't think it's like incredible, but it's pretty solid and probably the best card for us in this deck. We've got the Theoden that we can tutor out with the War of the Last Alliance, the Erkenbrand that we can tutor out, and the Aomer that we can tutor out. So this is always going to be a draw 2. It's always going to draw 2 of the stronger creatures in our deck, and then it'll give the whole board double strike and have the Ring Tempt us. I think it stacks into a good amount of value, even if it doesn't like initially impact the board too much. And 1 card has been taken from this pack. The only thing gone is the rare, and it's already just devoid of good red and white cards. We have to just take Battle-Scarred Goblins so we can actually have some 2-drops in here. Or we just take Saruman's Trickery and maybe get on that blue pivot. I don't think either half of our deck works good with blue, though. Like, we're not on a good start for white-blue. Like, we're really not on a good start for white-blue, and while we have good red cards, they don't work well with blue, so we're not on a good start to blue-red either. Real awkward. Yeah. Pretty big bummer to get past that pack. Pretty weak stuff for that early in the draft. This is much better. Still feels like the best cards we're seeing are blue, like Stern Scolding still here, although the Uruk-hai Captain is also a very premium card, but Westfold Rider's quite nice too for the humans deck. Gives us a 2-drop that's much better than the Battle-Scarred Goblin for our deck. And now we get an Errand Rider of Gondor. Beautiful one, very high quality card, probably one of the best cards in the pack. Actually, I think it just is the best card in the pack. 3 mana, 3/2, draws us a card when it hits the board, and if we don't control legendary, we have to put a card back, but if we do, it's an incredible deal, and if we don't, it's still nice card selection. So I like that a lot. Lost to Legend is fine interaction. There are tons of legends in the format, as well as being able to get rid of Ring Bearers. So we'll take the Lost to Legend. Now we'll take another Spearmaster, I think. Another Westfold Rider, that's a beautiful addition. Very happy to see that. Guess an Oliphant is fine filler. And we're looking pretty committed to red-white here. Blue looked like the color we could have had the strongest cards for, but there weren't any like red cards that I think work super well with blue in this draft pod, so I don't think we could have been a great blue-red spells deck. Honestly, blue... As weak as the archetype is in general, I think blue-green might have been the most open place to be, maybe the best place to be in hindsight. Definitely think we could be in a better position if we're in blue. But I haven't seen the cards for a good blue-white, blue-red, or blue-black deck, and green's just generally not great, so I don't even know what they would look like. We'd be just like close to mono-blue at this point. Probably just blue-red with a couple breakings and an Aomer as our red cards. Yeah, weird draft so far. Weird draft. Not a super powerful draft pod, but we've got a reasonable deck at this point going into pack 3. We don't have great removal, but we have removal with some breakings and a Lost to Legend. We've got a little bit of bombs, mainly the Aomer, but Theoden in the right position can be a bomb, Erkenbrand in the right position can be a bomb, and War of the Last Alliance definitely counts as a bomb since it searches for any of those. So, I mean, the deck looks powerful. Just not ideal. It's not perfect or anything. Pack 3, pick 1. We've got a Quarrel's End here. Not too much else. We don't have a lot of token production for Rosie Cotton, so I don't think she'll be great in here. So I suppose it's just Quarrel's End. Best card in the pack is probably Gothmog, followed by Old Man Willow. And we're very far from playing either of those, so Quarrel's End it is. And once again, the only card that was taken out of this pack was the rare, and it is devoid of red and white playables. We've had some rough luck when it comes to the card quality of these packs, especially in our colors. So we are going to have a much more filler, kind of mediocre looking deck today. Not a super happy place to be for the look back on Lord of the Rings here. It'll probably be fine. I'll just take a fog. I don't think I want multiple Coral's Ends. And I might be low enough on removal that the fog could play out fine. Okay, Book of Mazarbul I'm pretty happy to play, even if I'm red-white humans. Just a 3-mana 3/3 that gives the whole board +1/+0 and Menace at some point. That can just find a lot of extra damage. So that card is pretty sweet. We get a pick 4 Aomer? Okay. Maybe the cards in these packs just kind of suck. And it's not that we're getting like super cut, because 3 people passed this Aomer to us, which is wild. We're happy to take that. And then again, the cards suck. Pick 5. We're low enough on 2-drops. I think I just need another Battle-Scarred Goblin. So we're trying to be more aggressive. Probably cut second Breakfast here as the first cut, and then maybe a Fog, maybe an Escape as our next cut's coming up. Pack 3, pick 6. Wow, black just showed up in droves for pack 3. Didn't see a ton of good black going around pack 1, pack 2, but now we're seeing Uruk-hai Berserkers and Mortar Musters multiple packs in a row. Can't really do anything about that at this point, but I'm not going to play Swarming, Escape, or Rosie, so I guess I'll just punish somebody. Take an Uruk-hai Berserker. East Farthing Farmer could be fine filler. I think I like all of our other 3-drops better. So I'll just put that in the sideboard. I do like Esquire the King. I will play that. We'll cut one of the 1-mana combat tricks for it. Rare draft a Gimli for some gems over a 3rd Battle-Scar Goblin, now that I have 5 2-mana or less cards. Take a 3rd Breaking the Fellowship. I'll just play a bunch of those over Fog, which might not line up well for us, but it is what it is. Probably 16 lands and an Oliphant here, so we do run the second Breakfast in the end. And this is the deck we've got. It's just what we managed to pick up here. I don't think I'm playing another Coral's End. Definitely not playing the other 2, though. Another Escape, another Fog. Already cut one of each of these. Alright, well, mediocre red-white humans pile. Could hit some strong cards at some strong times and get some wins in there to do our best, but I think we're just going to cut 1 land and call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at our finished deck list for today. We are in a red-white humans aggro deck. We've got some of the big payoffs like Theoden and Erkenbrand, so if we're playing some humans, we're potentially buffing our whole board with +1/+0 or double strike. And those can lead to some really explosive victories when drawn and played at the right times. We've also got double Aomer, which is just an insane card in general. So we've got a lot of high power stuff in here, at least when it comes to creatures, thanks to double Aomer, Theoden, and War of the Last Alliance to search those out. The biggest thing we're missing out on is a great curve of creatures. Our 2-drops leave something to be desired. The double Battle-Scarred Goblin are not perfect for this archetype, and there's not a huge quantity of 1- and 2-drop creatures either. And then our removal is pretty lackluster. 3 Breaking of the Fellowship and 1 Lost to Legend. Both pretty situational, pretty just not the greatest. So awkward removal here, awkward curve. Not the perfect red-white deck, but we have the high power when it comes to late-game ways to finish things off. And some pretty explosive stuff, potentially, when drawn at the right time. So could still play out well for us. We'll have to see, but our fingers are certainly a bit crossed with our more mediocre deck today. So without further ado, let's head into the gameplay and see how it does. Open things up with a mono red hand for game 1. I don't think I can keep this. Would have to draw into a plains pretty quickly here. Otherwise, I'm just waiting till turn 3 and casting a Coral's End. That's the wrong button. Alright, I clicked the wrong button. I actually meant to mulligan this, but it isn't the worst keep in the world because we have the guaranteed turn 3 Coral's End, so It's not like I've just completely pumped myself out of the game there with the misclick, but I did intend to click mulligan. A little bit out of it right now, as you can tell. Still getting back used to the daytime schedule as I wean myself off of overnight shifts. There we go. We do immediately hit the plains, so this works out probably better than a mulligan would have. So lucky stuff there. Hate how good this Fire Leaper is against 1 toughness stuff, but if they don't make it a ring bearer, I will just immediately try to trade my Westfold Rider into it before I play any more creatures. Alright, cool. 1-for-1 trade, maybe? Awesome. Happy to get the Fire Leaper out of here as a 1-for-1 trade before we get enough creatures where it like clears out 2 things in one swing. Alright, this Bilbo is real spooky. Immediately going to be basically impossible for us to block and just constantly spit out treasure tokens for our opponent. And if the ring tempts them anymore, it can keep letting our opponent draw a card and discard a card with the looting effect. I could, there's the ring. Get the draw a card, discard a card there, and that would be super bad. Could Quarrel's End and hit them for 4 with Theoden. That helps me. Well, I already have land 5 for Éomer. Probably just play War of the Last Alliance then into Éomer here. If they have a counterspell, they probably jam it on the War of the Last Alliance, and that helps Éomer resolve next turn. Ray Haven's Navigator. That's kind of annoying. Guess I don't need to immediately War of the Last Alliance, so we can just cast second Breakfast into Éomer then. Not what I was expecting here. I was expecting a counterspell, but this is fine to buff Éomer up to 4 toughness so it doesn't die to that. And then drop our Éomer, or buff Theoden. I think I said the wrong name. I got my two accented names mixed up. Is that an accent grave or droit? I don't remember what the accents are called. Saruman the White coming in hot with Bilbo getting them treasures all the time. That's going to be very good. Drop an Éomer, and both our creatures have double strike here. So they can trade into Theoden and take 10 as like their best play, which clears out the Saruman. I think this is fine, stopping the Saruman there. They still have Bilbo, so they still have card selection, draw a card, discard a card every turn, and treasure production. Bilbo, again, just putting in a lot of work, just as the ring bearer mechanic in general does. And they get a Warbeast of Gorgoroth. I can't Lost to Legend that. I also don't have a second white source, so I can't Lost to Legend anything, I guess. So if I attack, we trade into that, and they get to Amass too. Actually, super rough. Not what we want to see at all. So I've drawn 2 of my legends. Do I have enough left for the war? I do have a second Éomer and an Erkenbrand, so yeah, there's 2 legends left in my deck. I don't like this very much, but I think I trade Éomer and then just grab my other Éomer. It's aggressive attack with everybody here. If they're not casting anything else, this is gotta be a Glorious Gale. Yeah, alright, so counterspell here. I top decked the only legend left in my deck to nerf my War of the Last Alliance. What a horrible draw. Let's go. You love to see it. Okay, so they're holding up like a Glorious Gale here, so I'm not going to just drop Aomer. See if I can hit a land and drop Spearmaster now. Do hit a land. Soothing of Smeagol. Okay, so they were just going to Soothing whatever I played. So still works better to Quarrel's End and to Spearmaster than it would have to Aomer. So now we force them to have specifically the counterspell. So if they have another Soothing or something, I'm still going to have a board of double striking 2-power humans just by casting Erkenbrand. Yeah, we definitely dropped the Erkenbrand with the double strike War of the Last Alliance trigger here. If I hit another land and I can cast Erkenbrand and Spearmaster, that'll be super gross. Ooh, alright, they drop everything down. We know they don't have a counter. They can block all 3 of my attackers here. Don't love that, but only one thing trades. Everything else is just a chump. And they kind of have to block everybody. I guess they can let 1 through and go to 2. So they're going to do that. 2 life here. Can they find lethal? They only have 5 power on the board. They get an Arwen's Gift, scry 2, draw 2, and deal damage to me with the Flamesmith. Dig a little more with Bilbo, drawing and discarding a card. Can't block that at all because it's Menace and Ring Bearing. There's a Smite on Erkenbrand. Still got 3 creatures. There's the Ranger's Firebrand. Alright. They're still dead on board because I attack with 2 2-power creatures. And now I have the Reprieve. I can drop an Aomer as well. So they're super duper dead on board. Plus I Reprieve anything they try to cast off the treasure. And there's the concession. All right. That was kind of a spicy game there. Bit of a back and forth for sure. They always had that Bilbo value going off. They got that War Beast to trade into our first Aomer, which went quite well for them. But War of the Last Alliance put in a lot of work for us, even if it only grabbed 1 legend, because we had that really unlucky Erkenbrand draw. But Chapter 3, giving that whole board double strike with the Erkenbrand to buff all the 1/1s was really pivotal there, finding the extra damage to help get that that quick kill in the end. So spicy little back and forth game there to start it off. We are 1-0 as we head into game 2. And here we are now for game 2. I'm a little higher on lands than I would hope for an opening hand, but with both of our colors, with a 1-drop and a 3-drop to get started, I don't think that this hand is worth a mulligan. Playing against Rakdos, red-black stuff. One of the strongest archetypes in the format, basically anything with black. One of the strongest archetypes in the format. Although I'd count red-white as a strong archetype as well. We just have a bit of a mediocre build for the color pair. Well, we're just going to trade blows with our 1/1s for now. Keep chipping away at each other for 1 damage a turn. We're like the murderer that uses a spoon over the course of several years. Quarrel's End. They had to discard a card to cast that, so Reprieve is actually really good here, because now they'll have to discard another card to actually play it later. So that's actually a gross Reprieve. I'm going to play the Spearmaster, and if I don't hit land 5, then I will Quarrel's End away the second Breakfast or something here to guarantee the turn 5 Aomer, but if I immediately hit land 5, I might do something else with my mana. Probably not. Well, there's Torment of Golem. Goodbye, Aomer. You hate to see it. Okay. Well, they know about my second Breakfast, and it's not even going to work as a trick here anyway. But I think trading our 1-1 up into the 2-2 army's fine. So they're just going to take all the damage here. Could have done a bunch to them if I wanted, but I'd rather Quarrel's End. Then hit them for 4 more with second Breakfast. We are on all interaction over here now. All removal all day. Smite the Deathless to exile the Spearmaster. Don't enjoy that. Ooh, top deck another Aomer, but I haven't hit land 5 still. It's kind of wild. I can't really do anything good with these Breaking the Fellowships right now. They're just second Breakfast for damage, because it's kind of just a weak combat trick in general. I'll probably just hold up Lost to Legend. If one of these Breakings or Lost to Legends or something was just a land, that would have been such a good turn for that top deck Aomer. Would have been beautiful. Well, there's the land. We can go for it now. Probably should not have attacked with Esquire of the King. Trading my 1-1 with Irrelevant ability into a 1-1 with no effects is probably not the greatest. There's the Ungol Patrol. Hold second Breakfast to beat the Patrol in combat. Oh yeah, this is going to be a great turn. Because I can Breaking the Lancer. I guess I'm 1 mana off from it being a really good turn, but I can Breaking the Lancer so that Aomer can beat Ungol Patrol with second Breakfast. They can't double block. And then I was going to say I could also then Lost to Legend whatever they make the Ring Bearer, but I can't do that. I don't have enough mana. I'm 1 off. Alright, so here's the beautiful second Breakfast opportunity. Oh, I should have just killed them. Oops. Oh my god. Second Breakfast. We could have just pied them in the face instead of pieing their Ungol Patrol. Well, if I lose the game, I have earned it here. That was a missed lethal punt. I was so preoccupied with thinking about whether or not I could save Aomer that I completely forgot to think about if I should. Luckily, it's not incredibly likely to matter for us, but that was quite a loose misplay there. Yeah, it looks like our opponent is just digging for outs. Maybe a board wipe or something. Otherwise, 1 life against 3 creatures, all with at least 1 power, probably does them in. Alright, opponent may have lost this game, but we missed lethal, so I think our opponent gets the moral victory there. So theoretically 1-1, but technically a great start to the draft. We are 2-0 now as we head into game 3. Here we are now for game 3. I'm not a big fan of this hand. Multiple combat tricks and a situational removal spell is all that I have until turn 5. No creatures for them. I'm gonna take the mulligan here. This looks like a much better way to start a game. We can drop the Breaking and then just curve out. Goblin and Spearmaster or Book, and then do the other one the turn after that. And now I've got the combat trick to go with them if I still wanted those. The only thing I'm missing out on here is that we don't have the Aomer anymore. That's a little sad. Well, we don't need one of our 2 Aomers until quite late in the game. Play around the Glorious Gale here and go for the Book of Mozzarbool. That cannot be countered by the blue and 1 counterspell. But the Spearmaster could, if they have Book in hand. If they didn't have an island out, I'd probably just play Spearmaster first, since it's a little bit more immediate damage. But this plays around Glorious Gale at very little cost to us, since both of these spells are still very powerful to get on the board. Glorious Gale is the 1 and a blue instant counter target creature spell specifically. Alright, there's Claim the Precious for the Battle-Scarred Goblin. Not the greatest for me, but that is the smallest creature we have right now, so getting the removal to be spent on our smallest dork is not bad. Plus, they're tapped out for Spearmaster to resolve. There's Torment of Golem for my food, which is fine, and we top deck Aomer. That's going to be real tilting for our opponent. I absolutely despise it when I cast a Torment of Golem and then my opponent just top decks the perfect card. Where it's like, well, obviously I would have made them discard Aomer, but they top decked it. So really rough time for our opponent this game. Unless they have some kind of real quick board wipe, it's going to be over, and they do not. I believe the only board wipe in blue or black in this format is a Saga that doesn't pop off till the turn after you play it, so I don't think there was anything they could do to really turn the game around. Maybe some collection of cards could survive another turn, but they are not going to get there. We're now 3-0, an excellent start to this draft off of a pretty mid-tier deck. We're only 1 win away from basically breaking even, so really happy with where we're at. We'll see if we can keep getting a couple more wins here, maybe getting the money. Here we are now on the play for game number something. Number 4 now. Could just immediately cycle the Oliphant to guarantee turn 3 Theoden. I think that is reasonable. Playing against a blue deck again. Pick up our mountain and let's jam out a Battle-Scarred Goblin. Technically going to be more damage if I go Theoden double strike the Goblin than Spearmaster +1/+0 it. Ooh, but if they knife wound it, then it's kind of just gone. Any point in keeping this? Not really. 2 life? No. So now we just play a Spearmaster. Oh my god. So we've got Erkenbrand and Theoden. Potential tag team duo. I only hit for 1 more damage by playing Theoden here, so I'm going to start with another Spearmaster to potentially bait out a counterspell. Yep, played the slightly weaker card, got the slightly weaker card countered. Worked out well for us. That means Theoden lives another day. Well, not really. Theoden hasn't even been birthed yet. Theoden exists to get cast another day. Unfortunately, our opponent is still just holding all of their mana up, so they're pretty likely just holding up another counter. I no longer have any way to play around it unless I just keep poking them, in which case I'm just giving them more time to get to like 6 mana to just play a 6/5 or a Voracious Fellbeast or something, and as an aggro deck, can't really just sit here, so I have to sort of play into their counters, which is not awesome. I guess we can see if they have Deceive or something, but if they have Deceive, it's not even going to kill Spearmaster, so they wouldn't even cast it. Oh yeah, we're still supposed to, I think, just pre-combat Theoden, so that if we're in that universe where it somehow resolves, we get the extra damage in. We might be there? If they're going to think this long. Yeah, it does resolve. Maybe it's instant speed removal or something. So they're going to crack Shire Terrace. We'll try to hit for 4. If they have Deceive now, they'll use it now that it's got Double Strike. Okay, no Deceive the Messenger. That is the -3, -0 instant that amasses 1. Lash the Balrog. Alright, so they're just going to blow up Théoden, which means the shields are down. Get out there, Erkenbrand. Well, they can't Glorious Gale us. And once they have mana up again, we'll play Book, since there are less counter spells that could counter that than there are that could counter creatures. Troll of Khazad-dûm. If I had another white source, I'd have a reasonable attack here. I guess, actually no, I still do because of Spearmaster's ability. I don't have to second Breakfast plus Escape, I can just 4-power Erkenbrand in there. And they're definitely going to block Erkenbrand. So we send in the Spearmaster for extra damage. And then we get the 2-for-1 trade into the Troll. So we would have had like a really good attack if I had another white source, but I think 2-for-1ing to kill the 6/5 is still a reasonable attack. And we're going to pay the life to keep Spearmaster out here. Keep that jamming into them. Second Breakfast does actually save our army, so hold the mana up here. And I will attack with both, because I can second Breakfast both creatures and hit them for 1. Alright, Captain of Umbar, just a 2/3 body. This Breaking of the Fellowship, not great when they only have 1 creature. Could hold up the ability to eat my food, but I don't see that doing anything, so let's just play Spearmaster so I can hit for more. I guess I could have just double pumped the army. But I guess this is a little more resilient to instant speed removal, and we still poke them for 1. Alright, they're down to 2. We've got 3 creatures on the board. One of them is going to be 0 power, but still feels like a good position. Our Lost to Legend has been one of the most awkward cards we've drawn in a lot of these games because we have constantly just not had double white. Dunlin Kerbane, that's a very, very good draw. 2 creatures off the 1 card. But we've got the Breaking of the Fellowship, which means without another card here, we do just have lethal. Just Ring Bearer my 0 power creature for fun, but they are going to scoop them up. That means no more interaction for our opponents and another victory. For the mid-tier red-white deck, it has been a huge overperformer so far. We are undefeated 4 rounds in, 4-0, at least basically breaking even, spending 1,500 gems to get 1,403 extra packs. Not a bad place to be, but see how far we can take it as we head into Game 5. Here we are in Game 5 with another awkwardly slow hand. There are no proactive plays till turn 5. Until then, it's just interaction. One of these pieces of removal can't even be cast till we hit another white source, so I think I am going to again mulligan for that reason. And here we have actual early game plays. I've not been a fan of these Breaking of the Fellowships either. We have a lot of mediocre cards in this deck and a lot of cards that have not been playing very well for us. But we're still 4-0, so I mean, I'm pretty happy with this draft no matter what happens from here. Would be a bummer to 4-0 into 4-3, just get 3 losses in a row, but this deck has done much better than I thought it would. Especially because, like, again, as I was saying, even in the gameplay, we can feel the lower card quality that this deck has. when we're hitting things like our Lost to Legend with awkward mana, or we keep hitting like a bunch of copies of our Breaking the Fellowship and just not being interested. It hasn't been super good in any positions. A lot of stuff like that. So we're definitely not blocking Battle Scarred Goblin because its little bonus ability is that it just deletes 1 toughness creatures that block it. So it wouldn't even be a trade. Well, we will trade the Rider into their 2/2 at least, I guess. I would rather do that than spend my whole turn playing a combat trick. Difference between playing a 3-drop and a 1-drop here. I could have just like passed the turn and not even attacked, but would have been fine. Playing a lot of Tormented Golems, but that is to be expected. It is a very, very powerful card. Super annoying 2-for-1 every time. And it's just going to be super popular in general. Take the trade here? Probably not. Just take the 2. Another land, not good. Our Spearmasters are pretty nice against their army. So thanks to their Torment of Golem, we are now down 2 cards because we mulliganed and got Torment of Golemed. So it is not looking like a great spot. We're in the lead on the board, but they have 3 more cards we haven't seen that are probably pretty likely to be higher quality than 1 combat trick and a land. So I think we're pretty far behind, theoretically. And there we go. The Oliphant confirms that we are quite far behind. Because now they have an Oliphant and 2 more cards. Now they're in the lead on board and cards in hand. Well, that theoretically changes things a little bit. If I top deck another land, then we're back to even on board if they've got nothing else to play yet. But they likely do. Just balance out the Oliphant versus Oliphant battle. I could 2-for-1 myself and trade a Spearmaster and an Escape into Oliphant. Don't think that's worth it when I'm already behind in cards. Just trying to get our Oliphant to trade into their Oliphant. Hopefully. Eventually. Maybe. Could also just trade 2 Spearmasters into the Oliphant. Plays pretty terribly if they have any other instant speed removal or combat tricks, but I guess so does the Escape play. Yeah, there's a lot they could have to completely blow us out if we try to get double block tricks on the Oliphant. Alright. We're about to take a lot of damage here. We might just be dead if they have like 1 removal spell. If they cast literally nothing, then we trade our Oliphant into theirs and get trampled for 2, plus they give something else +2/+0. Spearmaster gives something +1/+0. So they can attack with basically their whole team pretty easily. Trample over with some of it and hit us for 2 with some of the others. Yeah, because they can make their army a 3/2 with Spearmaster, which makes it big enough to trade into our Spearmasters. They can use Oliphant to make their Spearmaster a 4/3 trample, which makes that big enough. They could, if they wanted to, attack with the whole squad and do a lot of damage, but they're going for something a little different here. Sneaking in some trampling Battle-Scarred Goblin damage. Well, I mean, it's still just a 1-for-1 trade for a Spearmaster. And at this point, Spearmasters are just going to trade for anything we block, because they can still Spearmaster up the Orc Army, and then it's just a trade there too. So we need to preserve our life total and trade where we can. Down to 5 now. Oof, the Desperate Rescue as well buffs their ring up to level 2 and picks up their Oliphant. And there's the 6th mana to cast it next turn. Draw a card and ditch my Escape from Orthanc here. Thanks to this Errand Rider of Gondor top deck. Find a War of the Last Alliance. It's gonna be much too slow here, but I think it's still better than the Escape. So here we use Errand Rider of Gondor to trade into Rohirrim and Spearmaster to trade into the army. Take 2 when they drop an Oliphant, and we're still definitely in a losing position. Surprised by no attack with Spearmaster, because on board I'm forced to go Errand Rider on Rohirrim. The worst that could happen if they attack with Spearmaster is I trade an Errand Rider into it, which I don't think is that bad for them. So, guess it gives us just a little bit more life, a little bit more breathing room. Stay at 5 here instead of 3. Find a Westfold Rider, but it's not going to be enough. Only 1 toughness against a 6-power Trampler. The Oliphant alone will kill us. And I don't have any 2 mana value legends, so the War of the Last Alliance is not going to find us anything that will survive. We'll just grab an Aomer to send a message and scoop them up. We are 4-1 as we head into game number 6. Here we are for game 6 on the play with one of our most insane hands yet. Makes our deck look great. We've got a 1-drop into a 2-drop, and if I hit any lands, this hand goes crazy. Because then we go 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, maybe even 4-drop Erkenbrand to top it all off and get a bunch of extra damage in, because I'm going to have a wide board state giving all the creatures +1/+0 just from Erkenbrand hitting the board, let alone if we draw any more humans. So there is the 1 and a blue for a potential Glorious Gale, so we play around that by dropping Book of Mauserbull here if they don't deceive us. Cool, so here's Book of Mauserbull. Love Arena giving us the opportunity to sack our Westfold Rider and kill our book if we want to do that. There's an Uruk-hai Berserker. They are tapped out. Just drop an Erkenbrand and slaughter them while they're tapped out from countering them. I can trade into my army here, but I still think it's worth getting a full 6 damage in instead of just 2 damage in. If they have a really powerful artifact or enchantment coming up, they might even just trade into the Westfold Rider instead of the army. They're looking around, like thinking about it. Yeah, okay. Interesting. I don't know how scared I should be of that. They're still down to 9 life. We have 3 creatures on board, and we're about to give the whole team Menace. And +2/+0, because I'm going to play another human with Erkenbrand down. So, +1/+0 from the book, +1/+0 from Erkenbrand. Bath Song is it. They're dead. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're dead on board. We don't even have to do anything. I still will, just in case I'm super bad at math, but they're tapped out and dead on board to the book. Alright. Quick, easy aggro victory here with one of the most nuts hands I think our deck is capable of. Just a really good draw that game, and we are now 5-1. In the money, guaranteed, getting, I believe, 1,600 gems minimum out of this event. Along with, of course, keeping all of the cards that we've drafted, so super excellent spot to take our very mid deck. Very happy with today's draft. Here we are for game number 7, and we've got another one of those awkward keeps. At least we start at 3 mana with a creature with this hand. But 2 Breaking the Fellowship and a combat trick with just 1 creature here, not the most appealing. I'm going to take the mulligan here, and this does look a little better. I'm going to ditch a land. I still have Goblin into Reprieve if I miss a land drop, and if I hit just 1 land, then everything is castable. And there's 1 land with the Oliphant. Next turn we can cycle the Oliphant, play a mountain, and hold up Reprieve still if I don't draw land naturally. If I drew a land naturally, I would have played that and dropped a 3-drop creature down, but since I haven't, we'll do the Oliphant, and I'm doing it pre-combat in case they play something I want to Reprieve as an instant speed removal spell against the Goblin or something. So I can still guarantee the cycle of the Oliphant and cast Reprieve in the same turn. Our opponent kept a 2-land mono-colored hand so far. Well, try to pressure them as much as we can. Push extra damage into their face with Haradrim Spearmaster. Get as much damage in as we can while they're stuck on mana. They do hit an Eagles of the North for a white source. And they probably have a 2-drop. Yep, there we go. Frodo Baggins, a very powerful one. Don't have the mana to reprieve and do something else unless I draw into another land. Probably best to just play the book. Again, just pressuring life totals here. Guess I'm only hitting them for 3 this turn because they can just block Spearmaster for free. I don't love that. They might not, so I'm still going to do it. It's not like I can block Frodo anyway. Alright, sneak in 2 extra points of damage. Love that. Let's drop the book. I mean, that trigger giving our whole board +1/+0 and Menace is going to be incredibly threatening to them, considering they're already down to 10. So getting that to activate as soon as possible is a pretty big deal. There's an Eowyn. Not a big deal. Gives Vigilance or First Strike, and only during their turn. So it doesn't give lifelink. That is the important part. That makes me feel pretty fine about that. Still a very big blocker, but our Battle-Scarred Goblin can still attack in super easily. Oh, I guess that is the awkward part. Because Eowyn gives Vigilance to Frodo, they can use Frodo to clear out our 1/1 Orc, and then still have Frodo up as a blocker, which is kind of annoying. Okay, now I can drop Quarrel's End and still hold up Reprieve. But if I Quarrel's End, my 1/1 just dies to Frodo. So I almost feel like I'd rather Errand Rider and see if I can hit another Plains, and then ditch the Plains. Ditch the Mountain for the Plains. Don't, but I hit Breaking of the Fellowship, so I'll ditch Quarrel's End to that. And now we can we actually can't clear out anything. I have made an error. I lied. I can't clear out anything on board. I could get them to double block Spearmaster and then we can kill something, but then we lose Spearmaster without killing something. Like, I 2-for-1 myself. I have to lose Spearmaster and Breaking of the Fellowship to kill one of their 2 creatures. Feel like that's not worth it. Yeah, that was probably a mistake. I probably should have just ditched a Mountain instead of the Quarrel, since I'm not casting this Breaking of the Fellowship right now anyway. Oh, snap. Oh, snap. You're just gonna let me kill whatever I want? I guess we have Breaking of the Fellowship for in case they have, like, the +1/+3 combat trick here, but otherwise, like, I'm killing Eowyn. Just already. Cool. Yeah, I guess we just kill Eowyn. No! Shower of Arrows, the main deck naturalized to blow up our Saga before we give everybody Menace. We still have a good board state here, especially since we have that Breaking of the Fellowship, so if they play another creature, might be able to kill Frodo. Just keep them at just 1 creature down. Okay. Well, have good attacks even without the Saga popping off here, so we'll send them in. 6 damage, they're down to 4. Banish from Adoris. They do not have the mana to recast that, so I will reprieve it. Unless they play a land for turn that they have not played yet. Are they going to reprieve my reprieve? Reprieve the reprieve so they can reprieve while we reprieve. Very nice. Spearmaster, that's a sweet draw. Because now both of my creatures attack as 3 power and they have to chump instead of bouncing off. And they're down to 1, and they know we still have a reprieve, so they have to have a way to survive that fights through a reprieve. Frodo's fine, they're still dead on board, so we'll just let it resolve. I'm not going to reprieve unless it would put them to some position where they're surviving. And they don't have anything that's going to be good enough, so they are going to concede the game, and we're 6 wins deep with this deck. We're 1 win away from a full 7-win run. Don't know if we can make it there, but I'll try. We're only 1 win away. We've got 2 shots to get there. Very far in the money no matter what. All right. Guess it's time to head into that final boss. Here we are now for game 8 with a very reasonable opening hand. We have a turn 1 creature, a turn 2 creature, a turn 3 Quarrel's End to set up some draws. We're on the draw instead of on the play, so we don't get to like really curve out and aggro our opponent. But still a good hand for sure. They are so far on mono white. 2 plains and an Eastmark Cavalier is what we've seen. 3 plains in a row, alright. Might just be stuck off a color, I don't know. Errand Rider of Gondor to draw a card and put a card back. Another land over here. Go and Breaking of the Fellowship. Kill the Vigilant card or the 3/2. Kill the Vigilant card, I can make the Goblin a Ring Bearer, and then they can't block it at all. It's a little aggressive to just do that. Especially when I could just Quarrel's End while they're tapped out and then have 4 mana to do Reprieve and Breaking next turn. So we probably just send in the Goblin and then Quarrel's End. See if they want to just do a 1-for-1 trade. They do not. It's Quarrel's End. The Oliphant here for the draw 2. Find a War of the Last Alliance and a Theoden. That is pretty spicy. There's their second color. They're going to cycle a Troll of Khazad-dûm for a Swamp. And it is not the second color I would have liked to see, as it is the strongest color in the format. We'll go down to 13. Okay. Can Breaking of the Fellowship and Reprieve. Or play a Theoden. Or play a War of the Last Alliance. Let's double it up here. Now that they've got like perfect colors, they're probably going to jam out some powerful spell like a Torment of Golem or something, and Reprieve should be pretty good in that position. And this will give us a legend for Esquire of the King to be a little cheaper to use. Potentially. Nasty End. Draw a couple more cards. I am real tempted to reprieve that, because they'll have to sack another creature to do it again later. But then they get to resolve whatever they want next turn. Let them resolve whatever they want. Jam some damage out. We have a lot of ways to sneak a ton of damage out in the future with Theoden and the War and all of that kind of stuff. Now they get a Protector of Gondor, and sneaking in damage is going to be a much more difficult prospect at this point. I'm going to just play my book here. Try to go wide with a big Menace swing. I wish I had 1 more mana to like double spell it up pretty well, but I think Book is solid, and then if I top deck a land, Theoden plus Spearmaster in the same turn is going to be an explosive amount of damage they might not see coming. Oh boy. If they face explode me with some combat tricks, they face explode me with some combat tricks. Mirkwood Bats. Okay, there's the land. Is there any way to kill them with Theoden Spearmaster? I don't think so. So they chump the Orc Army, just guaranteed. So give that double strike, they chump that. I can then buff the Goblin and give that double strike as well. 6, 7, 8 damage is not lethal. I can force them to chump with the Mirkwood Bats, and then we can chump on the Crackback here. They don't have a black source up, by the way, so they can't nasty end the Mirkwood Bats after a chump. Okay, so I think I know the game plan. We're going to give both of our 3-power creatures double strike. And they will be forced to chump block one of them. And then we just survive the turn and try to get Book of Miserable things going. They've got something at instant speed though, which means this is probably not going to work. And if it doesn't work, then we die. If they like survive this swing without losing the Mirkwood Bats, they just have like a Soothing a Smeagol off the splash. The one random island. Hobbit Sting. Alright, well, what are you gonna do? Then we are dead, because they can just hit us for 2 in the sky and then sacrifice their token to shoot us for 1 with the bats. That was still the best line we could have made there. Oh wait, no, I can block. Spearmaster has Hidden Reach! We're not just dead, and they're still down to 6 with our board getting Menace next turn. Hold up. We still have a game. I forgot Spearmaster had Reach. That's pretty big. The cheapest legend I can find off of War of the Last Alliance is 4 mana, so whatever my play is next turn should not really put that into account. So unless I top deck a human, I don't actually think Theoden's going to be super helpful. So I think I can afford to like actually trade here and then chump there. Then I still have as many menacing attackers as possible. Because I have to lose 2 creatures here. I can't not, or I die. I think Spearmaster is genuinely more important than Theoden, because even if I don't top deck a human, Spearmaster is going to add to the damage, plus Spearmaster gives me an opportunity to survive another turn after this because I get to keep a reach blocker. So I think this is the best I have in terms of blocking options. Alright. The Mouth of Sauron. Oh, that's filthy. 2 more blockers, one of which is a token. And we hit a land. Well, that does us in for sure. Because we only have 3 blockers against 5 attackers now. Even if they didn't have Nasty End to go with Mirkwood Bats, we're dead. We can't kill them because we can only get 1 creature in, and that 1 creature is going to hit for 2, not 6. War of the Last Alliance doesn't do anything here. We can't draw a card and discard a card because we're not at level 2 of the ring. Alright, yeah, Mouth of Sauron was super gross. If it was just like land Nasty End left, we could have got there, but dang, real close game. Surprisingly. Still put them to 3, I guess. But there's no point in not attacking with everybody because I'm already dead on board in so many ways on the crackback. I guess I could have played War of the Last Alliance pre-combat just to make sure I didn't forget any legendaries in my deck. But we'll just play it post-combat and see. Maybe we punted it out here in the end. Be funny. Yeah, I mean, that's all fine. Alright, what do we have? Yeah, no, they're both 5 mana. Alright. 6 and 2 it is. We're going to have to go all the way to the end of the line here. The final game of Magic, win or lose, it is time for round number 9. Alright, here we are for the final battle. The final game of Magic for today, win or lose. I'm going to keep this hand, but I don't love it. We're also on the draw instead of on the play. Not beautiful. We've got 2 early game creatures, a combat trick to go with them, and 1 mediocre removal spell. Both of our colors. Don't think we can take a mulligan on that. Alright. Keep the hand, and our opponent starts with a forest into a Generous Ent forest cycle. So they've got double forest at the ready. We drew into a War of the Last Alliance, so we have something great to do at 4 mana. Just play that and make sure we can play an Aomer the turn after. Should be pretty decent. There's an Athelian Kingfisher, which is luckily not a good blocker for Battle-Scarred Goblin because of its ability to just delete it without even taking damage. So the double Battle-Scarred Goblin actually coming in hot here. Some awkward draws. We hit a second Breaking the Fellowship and a second Breakfast, neither of which are really any good here. So I could use it to kill the Kingfisher, but I don't think it's worth it. We're really looking for lands specifically, and yeah, hitting a second Breakfast and a Breaking of the Fellowship instead of lands, super bad with this War of the Last Alliance, so rough draws for our final game here. I don't even think Breaking of the Fellowship's good on this board state. We just send in the team, cast a Westfold Rider, I think. Don't see a massive reason to hold up our tricks to protect 2/2s. There's a Mirkwood Spider, also very bad against our Battle-Scarred Goblins. But it will trade into the Westfold Rider, but so will the Kingfisher. And the Kingfisher could do that and draw them a card. Alright, we hit land 4. We missed 1 turn, that wasn't great. But we still have great attacks for Battle-Scarred Goblins, and now I can cast War of the Last Alliance. Got a Pippin's Bravery. Interesting. Make it a 4/3 here. I could still win combat with Escape from Orthanc. But then I don't cast War of the Last Alliance this turn, which I don't like. I can't win combat with second Breakfast. I mean, I guess that's not horrible. Win combat here, keep my Battle-Scarred Goblins because they're really good attackers on this board, and since they have Mirkwood Spider, we're actually pretty interested in letting them keep the Mirkwood Spider on board so that our second Breaking of the Fellowship can also kill whatever we want. Oh yeah. So now our second Breaking is going to kill a Celeborn. And look, we top decked the only card we would have wanted to tutor for with the War of the Last Alliance anyway. Not the only one, but the main one. Draw a card, discard a card, looking for a land. Don't find a land, but a Reprieve is actually pretty spicy here. Because that'll stop whatever they play this turn and draw us another card. Oh my god, Reprieve a Faramir? Could this game be going any better for our random cards like Breaking of the Fellowship and Reprieve and stuff? Good lord, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I put them to 1 if they trade into Aomer. And there's the concession from our opponent. So we would put them to 1, lose Aomer, but get a 1/1 back, have 4 creatures on board to attack with next turn. That was insane. The breaking of the fellowships doing so much work when our opponent has a Death Toucher on board, being able to kill a Celeborn nice and easy. The battle-scarred goblins being incredibly frustrating for our opponent with their 1 toughness Mirkwood spiders and Athelian kingfishers. And the perfectly timed reprieve to stop the Faramir Prince of Athelion from even triggering its ability. That was the stars aligning for our very, very middle of the road, very mid red-white humans deck to make it all the way to a 7-win run, getting us 2,200 gems and 6 packs. But here's one final look at the deck. We'll talk about our over and underperformers as I like to do. We don't have any specific overperformer. I guess overperformers gotta go to Battle Scarred Goblin after the kind of shenanigans it pulled in that final game, and there were multiple other games where it did similar things, making our opponent's blocks just really, really rough for them. So Battle Scarred Goblin, I was treating it as a very mediocre filler creature during the draft in terms of when I took it and how much I wanted to put it in the deck, but it actually helped out quite a bit in a few of those games, so that did perform above my expectations. For underperformers, mainly the cards I already thought weren't going to be very good, like Second Breakfast and Breaking of the Fellowship. Throughout the majority of the games, these were pretty bad, but they did find some opportunities, which was nice. Probably have to give the biggest underperformer to Lost to Legend, since we exclusively drew it with only 1 planes on the board, so the double white restrictive mana cost was tremendously rough. We didn't get to cast the spell a single time, and I think we had it in some positions where we actually did have double white, but then our opponent just didn't have the legends, so Lost to Legend, biggest underperformer, but overall, huge overperformer goes to the deck. Aomer, the best thing going on in here, as I said during deck building and during the deck overview, we have a few really powerful cards like Aomers and Theodens. If we draw them in a good order, find them in the right opportunities, we could still cheat some games out, even with mediocre removal and a mediocre curve, and we definitely did. Just a lot of great draws take us all the way to a 7-win run and the maximum prizes out of today's draft. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.